I had loved Julia for 12 long years. Through every phase, every heartbreak, every boyfriend she cycled through like seasons. And when everyone thought I had finally managed to tame the heart of this girl, who flirted with life itself, she blocked me. Blocked me for another man. More than a month passed. Then one day, she stood there, surrounded by a sea of roses, cheeks flushed, eyes watery, asking if I could give her another chance. I smiled, reached into my bag, pulled out a bright red wedding invitation. "I'm getting married next week," I told her softly. "I hope you can make it." Chapter 1. Julia posted a message in our old friends group chat. "Meet at the usual place tonight. I have an announcement." Joel, my closest friend, jumped on it immediately. "Oh wow, getting formal. Is our lady player finally ready to settle down?" Normally Julia would fire back, laugh, maybe tell him to get lost. But this time, she typed just one word. Yes. Just 3 letters. But they hit the group like a rock thrown into still water. The chat erupted. No way. Did I read that right? Is the queen of heartbreak coming ashore? Did our Romeo finally endure long enough to see the light? Okay, deducing here. Miss Lynn hasn't dated lately. No new flirtations. The male lead can only be Romeo. Congrats to Romeo. It wasn't a secret that I liked Julia. My exception for her, my favoritism, was obvious to everyone. And she, in return, reserved her gentleness and patience only for me. She didn't deny any of the teasing either. Her silence felt like acknowledgement. Over the years, she changed boyfriends like seasons changed leaves, but her constant was always me. Anyone would think my wait had finally paid off. Chapter 2. Julia planned the gathering, but she was the last to arrive. And behind her walked a shy, quiet young man. He was young, handsome, nervous, with that same unease I had 12 years ago when I was brought into the Lynn family. The group went silent instantly. All jokes evaporated. Julia turned, looped her arm through his, and said, "Let me introduce my boyfriend, Oliver." Her eyes never left his face, soft, tender, glowing like first love. Oliver lifted his hand and waved shyly. "Hello, everyone." Joel reacted first, laughing a little too loudly. Well, quite the secret. When did you get a boyfriend?" But his eyes kept flickering to me, trying to check if I was okay, if I'd break, if I'd make a scene. I stared into my glass, swirling the drink, my mind empty except for the bitterness spreading across my tongue. Julia and we were always somewhere between friendship and love. Never enough for me to be jealous. Never official enough for me to complain. What right did I have to make a scene? Chapter 3. Julia had dated many people over the years, but she never introduced any of them to us. That silence always carried its own meaning. She leaned into Oliver, smiling. "We've been together for over 2 months. Oliver's a bit shy, don't scare him." 12 years ago, the same group, the same words. "Romeo's a bit shy, don't scare him." I had just returned from a tiny southern village. My Mandarin wasn't perfect. Kids mocked me. But Julia held my hand, dragged me into her world, and protected me. I was 14. She was the bright light that turned my fear into hope. Tonight, out of respect for me, everyone forced their reactions down. After more than a decade of friendship, they naturally sided with me, not Oliver. Everyone always assumed Julia and I would end up together. The air grew thick. Oliver looked uncomfortable. He tugged on Julia's sleeve and whispered, "Sister, it feels like they're not very welcoming." I froze at the way he called her sister. Something about it felt wrong. Chapter 4. When Julia and I were younger, her favorite prank was sneaking up behind me. She'd steal whatever was in my hands or jump onto my back and wrap her arms around my neck. "Call me sister," she'd demand. She was only 2 months older, but she used that tiny advantage ruthlessly. I'd get flustered, annoyed, eventually giving in just to make her stop. Only when my face turned red and I whispered sister, would she finally let go. Back then, she was still pure, still a little proud, still shy around other boys. Just as she opened her mouth to reassure Oliver, a glass shattered in the corner. Domingo. Handsome, sharp-tongued, and always at odds with me. His face was dark with anger. "Julia, what the hell have you been treating Romeo as all these years?" The entire room froze. Julia's expression shifted, darkening, then settling. Her eyes landed on me. "I don't know if there's been a misunderstanding," she said slowly, "but I've only ever seen Romeo as a younger brother." Chapter 5. Younger brother. Interesting. Had she forgotten? Last year, when we celebrated New Year's, Julia had clung to my arm. "No Romeo from my family is leaving me. Stay with me," she had laughed. Someone teased, "Since when is Romeo part of your family?" She tossed a tangerine at them, laughing harder. "He's always been. Romeo is my childhood fiancé." But now, after a few months, she could look me dead in the eyes and call me her younger brother? I pressed a hand to my chest. It hurt, but not as much as I expected. In fact, I felt something like relief, like finally getting an answer I'd waited years for. It reminded me of when I was 14, sending a story to my favorite magazine, never hearing back. Then 12 years later, receiving a rejection letter. Oh, I'd think. So that's what it was. The initial enthusiasm had faded long ago. The same had happened with my love for Julia. It wasn't that I didn't love her anymore. I simply no longer expected anything. And without expectations, even this didn't crush me. Chapter 6. Domingo tried to defend me again, but I stopped him. He glared, muttered useless, and stormed off. I didn't want to stay, either. I grabbed my phone and walked toward the door. Just as I touched the handle, Julia's voice called out, "Romeo, come back." I turned and smiled. "Sister, you all enjoy. I'm going to check on Domingo." It was the first time I called her sister so easily. Her face froze, clearly displeased. "Come back," she repeated, colder this time. But I pushed open the door. As it shut behind me, I heard another glass shatter. The sound was cut off the moment the door closed. Chapter 7. Looking for Domingo was just an excuse to leave. He and I had never gotten along. In school, he'd throw balls at me, cut my art projects, hide my books, even put bugs in my desk. Growing up didn't change much. Even when he defended me tonight, it still didn't fix things. I planned to go home, but as I reached the front entrance, I saw him leaning against the wall smoking. He stubbed out his cigarette as I approached. "I came with Joel," he said. "Heading back now? Mind giving me a lift?" I sighed, but didn't refuse. Rarely in 12 years had we been alone without fighting. After I dropped him off, he didn't get out immediately. After a long pause, he said, "That Oliver kid, he reminds me of you back then." But it didn't matter. He wasn't me, and I wasn't him. I opened the door and shooed him out, ignoring his curses. Then I drove to the adjacent villa. My family lived beside his, and beside that was Julia's home. All the residents here were wealthy, powerful families. Chapter 8. I parked, and just then Domingo called me. Check WeChat. The group chat was exploding with red packets, everyone sending money to congratulate Julia for finding a boyfriend. Julia had added Oliver to the group. I joined in, sent a red packet like everyone else. But the moment it went through, Julia kicked me out of the group. Then a private message popped up. "Sorry, Romeo. Your presence makes Oliver uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch for now." It felt like a punch to the chest. After a moment, I typed, "All right." But when I hit send, a red exclamation mark appeared. She had already deleted me. 12 years, from childhood to youth, from innocence to adulthood, all erased by her 2-month relationship. I stared at that exclamation mark for a long time, completely dazed. My eyes burned, but no tears came. The old Julia would shake me by the shoulders, smiling brightly as she said, "Romeo, other than my parents, no one is more important to me than you." But now, this Julia, this version of her calmly told me, "Your presence makes Oliver uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch." How ridiculous. Chapter 9. I liked Julia, yes, but I never clung to her, never crossed a line. I never even said or did anything flirtatious. Whenever I heard she had a boyfriend, I would be the one to pull away first, intentionally keeping my distance. I didn't want my feelings to weigh on her. But the strange thing was, whenever I pulled back even a little, she'd get annoyed. Her first boyfriend was actually my college roommate, a guy who knew very well how I felt about her. Later, the two of them walked hand in hand right in front of me, my roommate grinning like he'd won the lottery. He seemed to forget all the nights we'd shared drinks, while he practically thanked me for helping him get Julia. Romeo, thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have won over Julia. That day, with the wind whipping through the trees, I stood on the path outside the library and felt like the biggest fool alive. Only then did it hit me. He'd befriended me from the start just to get closer to her. After all, how many teenage boys could resist someone like Julia? Beautiful, wealthy, and beloved by everyone. So I distanced myself from him and from Julia. Their relationship lasted only 3 days. When he came back, he was furious, red-eyed and shaking. Julia dumped me. Are you happy now? I was stunned. I hadn't done anything. Why was he blaming me? But since he asked, I decided to be honest. Yeah, I said. I'm happy. Chapter 10. That night, Julia insisted on taking me out for a big meal. She leaned forward with that familiar, mischievous grin. You've been ignoring me for 3 days. Can you stop being mad already? I told her honestly, I'm not mad. It's just, now that you're dating someone, we should keep a bit of distance. It's better for everyone. She rolled her eyes, completely confident. I only agreed to go out with him because you two were close. If Romeo likes him, I like him. If Romeo doesn't like him, I don't either. After that, whenever she dated someone, she avoided choosing guys who were connected to me. She didn't even bring her boyfriends to meet us publicly. But in the capital, the high society circle isn't too big or too small. Even if she didn't say a word, news about her always reached me through others. During holiday gatherings, someone would always joke, "You've had so many boyfriends. When are you bringing one home to meet us?" She'd place a shrimp in my bowl, steal the one I peeled, and say casually, "They're not quite at that level yet." Some of her boyfriends even added me on social media, some begging, some cursing, all trying to get me to stay away from Julia. After it happened enough times, I understood something painful. Even if I did absolutely nothing, just existing was a crime. So when Julia said she wanted to cut ties because Oliver felt uncomfortable, I respected her decision. But why did she have to kick me out of the group? Chapter 11. An hour later, Joel kicked open my bedroom door. When he saw me sitting there, perfectly fine, he scratched his head. "Man, I thought you'd do something stupid. I came to check on you." I glared at him, lips pressed together, saying nothing. After a while, he asked carefully, "Romeo?" Julia's temporarily confused. "We can all see how much Oliver resembles," he trailed off. What he didn't want to say was probably this: Oliver reminded everyone of me back then. I frowned slightly, avoiding the question. "Joel, I want to go back south," I said quietly. "To my grandma's place." Chapter 12. When my mom was pregnant with me, my dad's business almost went bankrupt. A feng shui master told them the misfortune came from my mom's pregnancy. He claimed that I would bring bad luck to my dad's finances. But my mom was already 9 months pregnant, too late to undo anything. So the moment I was born, I was sent south to live with my grandmother. She named me Romeo, hoping I would live peacefully year after year. When I was 14, she passed away and left me with no one. Back then, I used to think, well, at least I have Julia. Even if we aren't lovers, I'm always her number one choice. And somehow, I believe that was enough. Reality slapped me awake. Chapter 13. It was the rainy season. The southern landscape was wrapped in a soft mist, rain drifting gently like threads. Holding an umbrella, I stepped onto the familiar cobblestone path. At the end stood the old 3-story house, where I spent the first 14 years of my life. My mom always said my grandmother was stubborn, even after her daughter married into wealth. She refused to leave the countryside. She clung tightly to that old house. But that stubborn woman gave me the happiest childhood I ever had. The rain was light, vendors rolling past on tricycles, calling out through loudspeakers. Fresh bayberries. Fresh bayberries. A man from the villa next door stepped out with an umbrella. Seeing me, he stared in surprise. "Romeo, what brings you back? It's not Memorial Day yet." I forced a smile. "I missed home. Came to stay a few days." His gaze shifted to the suitcase in my hand, and something like sympathy flickered across his eyes. "Kid, why'd you come alone? Your grandma's old house hasn't been lived in for ages. And it's been raining. It must be damp inside. How about you stay with us for now? Your sister Anna is hardly ever home, so you'll be good company for me." Before I could refuse, he grabbed my suitcase, took my hand, and cheerfully dragged me to the villa. Chapter 14. He placed me in his daughter Anna's room. Watching Uncle Sue bustle around, I finally understood what people meant by overwhelming hospitality. After refusing several times, he looked at me so hurt, as if I thought his house wasn't good enough, that I had no choice but to accept. Anna's room was clean and cozy. A huge bookshelf dominated one wall, filled with books, models, trophies, and certificates. It fit her, the lifelong overachiever who excelled from childhood to university. Anna was 2 years older than me. We weren't especially close, but we weren't strangers either. We grew up together, and later we even attended the same university. She earned a scholarship. I got in because of my local residency. That evening, Domingo called. His voice was dull and heavy. "Joel said you went back south." I hummed in acknowledgement. After a long pause, he muttered, "Why didn't you tell me? I could use a break too." I had long known Domingo harbored feelings for Julia once we entered adulthood. Standing at the window, watching the rain fall endlessly, I shut him down without hesitation. No need. A brotherly bonding trip isn't really our style. He gritted his teeth, called me an idiot, and hung up. Chapter 15. In the years since I'd last seen her, Anna had grown from a sweet, innocent girl into a calm and graceful young woman. She paused for a moment, her eyes carrying emotions I couldn't quite decipher. "It's been a while," she said, her voice warm and familiar. I smiled. "It has. Since she was home, I figured I should head out. I told Uncle Sue I'd leave." He thought for a long moment before saying, "You haven't been back in so long, and your grandmother's house has nothing prepared. How about this? Anna can move in with you and help you take care of things." I was about to refuse when Anna replied first. "All right, let me help him clean up first." Chapter 16. It didn't feel entirely appropriate for a man and woman to live together alone, but refusing both father and daughter would have been rude. So Anna and I went to my grandmother's house. It hadn't been lived in recently, but every year I hired people to maintain it. Other than dust, it was in good condition. After cleaning, I sat on the steps outside, staring into the distance. The sky had cleared after the rain, bright blue with big white clouds drifting lazily. It was a sight I rarely saw in the smoggy capital. Anna handed me a bottle of water. I looked up and smiled. "Why did you come back so suddenly?" she asked. I smiled back. "My dad tricked me into it," she said, then added, "What about you?" The sunlight was warm on her skin, dusting her gently with a golden glow. Unlike Julia's striking beauty, Anna's features were gentle and soft, carrying a scholarly grace. I looked away, choosing my words carefully. Healing. Chapter 17. Life in the countryside moved slowly. I got used to the quiet, polite rhythm of living with Anna. She was a considerate roommate. Afraid I'd get bored, she brought me a stack of books to pass the time. Somehow, she even found a puppy that looked just like the one my grandmother used to own. When I squatted down to pet it, my heart tightened with mixed emotions. Anna stood quietly at my side. After a long moment, she asked, "Romeo, are you feeling hurt?" It was a phrase that pulled me straight back into childhood. When I was little, kids mocked me for being a parentless child or an illegitimate kid. Sensitive as I was, I could only hide somewhere to cry. Every time I cried, Anna found me. She'd pat my head gently and say the same words. "Romeo, are you feeling hurt?" Over time, fewer kids bullied me. Until one day, I saw why. Anna had cornered a boy who threw rocks at me, beating him up in the alley. This fragile-looking girl had been my silent protector. It seemed I'd been very attached to Anna before leaving this place. How had we drifted apart? Chapter 18. A few days later, Joel sent me a short video. In it, Julia was slumped on the ground, clutching a bottle, calling out repeatedly, "Romeo, Romeo." Beside her, Oliver's eyebrows were drawn tight, his expression dark and tense. Under the video, Joel left 2 messages. Romeo, when are you coming back? Julia's drunk and keeps demanding to see you. She's at the flower garden making a scene, and we don't know what to do. The flower garden was the private club Daniel had mentioned before, the most exclusive place in the capital, owned by the Lynn family. Whenever Julia drank too much, I was always the one she would follow home, without resistance. Even drunk, she always recognized me. Chapter 19. I once asked her if she wasn't afraid of mistaking someone else for me. She'd shake her head, pout a little, and say, "How could I ever mistake you? You're my one and only Romeo." It was these tiny, almost insignificant moments that kept my feelings alive for her for 12 long years. Just a small hint of hope was enough to keep me going, wasn't it? I texted back, "From now on, don't tell me anything about her anymore." The moment I hit send, Joel's call popped up on my screen. I hesitated, then answered. "Hey Romeo, Julia hasn't been doing well these past few days." Before he could finish, shouting erupted in the background. "Julia, behave yourself. Stop grabbing my phone." And then her voice burst through. "Hello? Hello? Is that Romeo? When are you coming to get me?" She sounded upset, almost scared. "I wasn't feeling well these past few days, and you didn't come see me. I haven't seen you in so long." Her voice grew softer, more uncertain, trembling at the edges. "Romeo, I miss you." I hung up without thinking. Chapter 20. Later that night, Oliver sent me a friend request, claiming he had something to show me. I didn't care what he wanted, but he kept spamming requests until, around the 20th attempt, I finally accepted. He sent a photo. Julia was lying on a big hotel bed, eyes closed, dark hair spread out like some kind of temptress. Oliver was right beside her. "Brother Romeo," he typed, "Julia and I know you like her too, but she only sees you as family and habit. She told me I'm the only one she loves. She got drunk tonight because she was jealous I talked to another girl. She came looking for you, so please don't misunderstand." I read his long message feeling nothing. My 12 years of feelings had ended the moment she kicked me out of the group chat. Letting go wasn't as hard as I thought. I replied calmly, "Oh, wish you both happiness." Chapter 21. It rained for several days straight. Anna liked to brew tea and sit by the window writing or sketching. I'd lie on the couch with a book. The puppy she gifted me curled at my feet, quiet, obedient. I named him Pudding. During those days, Anna and I grew closer. The soft pattering of rain outside, her pen scratching lightly against paper, the rustle of my pages flipping. Together, it felt like peace, like the kind of quiet life people describe as gentle years or slow, warm days. Then, an urgent knock shattered the calm. Anna opened the door. Her neighbor stood there, face tight with worry. "Anna, your father just fainted. You need to come right now." Anna froze, her slender figure swaying. Then she bolted outside like a gust of wind. I followed immediately. Uncle Sue had always helped my grandmother and me. When she was alive, he took care of us. Even now, he often brought us home-cooked meals. Chapter 22. Uncle Sue lay in bed, his face pale and exhausted. Anna frowned, voice trembling despite her effort to stay calm. "Dad, are you okay? Do we need to go to the hospital?" He looked past her at me, sighed heavily, then motioned me closer. From under his pillow, he pulled out a folded piece of paper. "My time is running out," he said quietly. "My biggest worry is Anna. Romeo, you're a good kid. I want to entrust her to you." The paper read late-stage cancer. Anna snatched it, her frown deepening with every word she read. She was silent for a long moment before whispering, almost to herself, "It might be a misdiagnosis. We'll get another checkup soon." Chapter 23. Despite her words, Anna grew quieter with each passing day. When we were little, she would always find me when I was hiding somewhere crying. Now, I was the one finding her, crying alone in secret. When I discovered her this time, she tilted her head up, her nose red, her eyes misty. Seeing her like that made something inside me ache. "If you need to cry, then cry," I said softly. "Don't hold it in." I sat beside her and hesitated before gently placing my hand on her head. Just like she used to do for me when we were kids, I slowly patted her hair. Summer was ending, but maybe because our hearts were heavy, the heat felt more suffocating than usual. She looked up at the sky, voice breaking. The reason I came back this time is because Dad told me he was sick. When I got home, he brushed it off like a joke. I thought he was just kidding. I stayed quiet. She didn't need advice. She needed someone to listen. "Romeo, thank you for everything these past few days," she whispered. "But don't take what my dad said too seriously. I'm not your responsibility. You shouldn't feel obligated to take care of me or risk your marriage for old family ties." Uncle Sue's last wish had been for me to marry Anna. I stared off into the distance, silent for a long time. I didn't know exactly what I felt for her. Being with her was comforting, even if we weren't doing anything. Seeing her cry made me want to ease her pain. Seeing her smile made me warm inside. Making her my responsibility didn't feel like a burden at all. There was even a quiet desire behind it. After a long pause, I heard myself say, "Anna, let's get married." Chapter 24. Before I turned 14, my parents were strangers who appeared only on holidays. After 14, they were parents who just asked, "Do you have enough money?" Did they love me? Probably. But the emotional distance of 14 years meant they didn't know how to be close to me. Whenever I saw my mom interacting warmly with my younger brother, 5 years younger, I told myself not to mind. When they heard I was getting married, my mom simply asked about Anna's background, then agreed. The wedding was scheduled for a little over a month later. Anna wanted something simple, but I refused. I couldn't give her a lavish wedding, but she deserved everything a bride should have. Since I decided to marry her, I wouldn't let her feel even a hint of grievance. Chapter 25. After discussing the wedding details, we went home. A blue Pagani Huayra was parked outside. Joel stepped out. His normally sharp features were dulled by fatigue, dark circles under his eyes, stubble growing along his jaw. It looked like he had driven all night. He glanced at Anna, beside me, and frowned. "She's the one you're marrying?" As my closest friend, he was the only person I told. I nodded. His frown deepened. "Romeo, we need to talk." Anna left us alone, calm and considerate as always. Joel watched her walk away, still frowning. "Are you sure?" he asked. I followed his gaze, but my voice softened without me realizing. "Yes, I'm sure." Chapter 26. Joel sighed, trying to persuade me gently. "Romeo, marriage isn't a game. You loved Julia for so many years. I can't believe you could fall for someone else so quickly. Julia hurt you, but that doesn't mean you should hurt an innocent girl. Ask yourself, do you truly love Anna?" I paused. Scenes from the past days flashed through my mind. Life with Anna was simple but warm. She wasn't very talkative, but every morning she woke up earlier than me to make breakfast. Wearing a cartoon apron that didn't match her elegant personality, she'd call me to wash up with a small smile. Little pudding would circle around her feet, tail wagging endlessly. The two of them together looked like a picture of quiet domestic happiness. Everything became clear. I turned to Joel, patted his shoulder, and said firmly, "Don't worry. I'd never hurt Anna." Do I love her? It feels like I do. Chapter 27. After Joel left, I got busy preparing for the wedding. The date was getting closer, and there was still a lot to do. Joel continued messaging me occasionally, sometimes bringing up Julia. He told me Julia had gotten drunk and Oliver took advantage, using compromising photos to force her into marriage. The incident blew up and even made the news. The Lin family patriarch was furious, forcing Julia to step down from her family business role to reflect. She had been pampered all her life. She wasn't used to hardship. Feeling depressed, she started drinking. Whenever she got drunk, she kept shouting my name, refusing to listen to anyone. Joel didn't tell me this directly. Domingo did. "Domingo, after all these years, can't you forgive her once? Seeing her like this, doesn't it hurt your heart?" I didn't respond. Hurt? For 12 years, she knew exactly how I felt. She gave me hope while dating others. Did anyone care whether my heart hurt? Julia had tried adding me several times lately. I ignored all of them. She called from different numbers. I blocked them all. After the way she discarded me for Oliver, we could never even be friends again. Some wounds don't heal. Once love shatters, piecing it back together isn't simple. Besides, I have Anna now. Chapter 28. I saw Julia again over a month later. Domingo messaged me saying he was in a nearby town and wanted to meet on the busiest street. Before leaving, I stuffed a stack of wedding invitations into my bag, hoping he could distribute them back home. Wedding preparations with Anna were almost done, and though Uncle Sue's health kept declining, he was visibly happy. Our marriage was probably the only bright spot in his bleak days. When I reached the pedestrian street, the flower beds were overflowing with bright red roses. Ribbons and balloons were tied everywhere. Two young girls walking past chattered excitedly. "Wow, which rich guy is proposing? It's so romantic." I heard it's actually a beautiful girl confessing her love, and they brought in a whole sea of roses. Someone even saw a small plane this morning. She must be rich. Let's go look. The crowd surged toward the center of the street where Domingo and I planned to meet. I frowned. A few days ago, I heard the Lynn family had given Oliver a $5 million breakup fee. Seeing no future with a wealthy family, he took the money and ran. With my bag on my shoulder, I followed the crowd. Chapter 29. Sure enough, the place overflowing with roses was right next to the cafe where Domingo and I were supposed to meet. The entire street was packed, layers and layers of people. Occasionally, I heard girls gasping around us. The girl holding the flowers in the middle is stunning, and the guys next to her are handsome too. I love the one on the far right. He's got that bad boy vibe. So appealing. It's like a scene from a romance novel. Beautiful heroine and her handsome knights. I wonder what the leading man looks like if such a beautiful girl is confessing publicly. Domingo was standing outside the crowd. The moment he saw me, he rushed over and excitedly pulled me into the middle of the throng. Make way. Make way. The leading man has arrived. And just like that, a path opened for me. At the end of that path stood Julia, nervous yet hopeful, holding a large bouquet of Juliets. Domingo let go of my hand and nudged me toward her. Honestly, considering everything, his loyalty to Julia probably deserved more respect than mine ever did. Chapter 30. Romeo. Julia called my name, a soft blush blooming across her delicate face. The crowd cheered as she slowly stepped toward me. Behind her, our old friends looked genuinely happy, everyone except Joel, who stood on the far right, leaning lazily against the wall with his arms crossed, watching with a smirk. When he saw me, he raised an eyebrow, which immediately triggered another wave of excited screams from the girls around us. Julia bit her lip shyly and held the flowers out to me. "Romeo, I'm sorry. I know what I did before was terrible. It wasn't until you left that I realized how much more important you are to me than I ever imagined. Will you give me another chance? Let me make up for my mistakes." I looked down, opened my bag, and pulled out an envelope. "I'm getting married next week," I said, handing her the invitation. "I hope you can come." Chapter 31. Julia froze. The expensive roses slipped from her hands, petals scattering across the ground. "Romeo, stop joking. This isn't funny," she stammered, her eyes immediately turning red. I didn't react. I just stepped around her and continued handing out the wedding invitations to the others, who were equally stunned. "Remember to come to my wedding," I said calmly. Only my parents and Joel knew. Clearly, they hadn't spread the news. Suddenly, Julia rushed forward. She grabbed the invitations I had just handed out and ripped them to pieces, letting the scraps fall like snow at our feet. "Romeo, I just said it. This joke isn't funny." Her reaction surprised me. Tears streamed down her face as she tore open my bag, shredding every last invitation inside. Then she grabbed my arm, trying to pull me away. I broke free. With a faint smile, I said, "There are still plenty of things to prepare for the wedding. And my wife is waiting for me to return. I'll take my leave." Chapter 32. 2 days later, Julia bought the house next door. Her flashy limited edition Koenigsegg looked absurd sitting outside that modest home. Every day, she waited for me, begging for another chance. Eventually, worn out by her persistence, I told her sternly, "I'm about to get married. Please stop bothering me." Her teeth sank into her lip, and her eyes filled with tears instantly. Moments later, she slowly crouched down, clutching her head as she sobbed. "Romeo, I know I was wrong. Just give me one more chance. I'm begging you. Please, Romeo, don't be so heartless." This woman, once so proud, now sank into the dust, begging for forgiveness. I felt nothing. Heartless? Then I didn't mind being a little more so. I bent down slightly. "Sorry, Julia, but your presence makes Anna uncomfortable. Let's not stay in touch." I returned her old words to her, word for word. Chapter 33. The wedding went ahead as planned. Outside, a line of wedding cars stretched down the road. Just as I was about to get into the car, I saw Julia standing there. She was wearing a brand new white wedding gown, her makeup done flawlessly. I ignored her and lowered my head to enter the car, but she rushed forward and grabbed my arm. Her once clear voice was now hoarse, like it had been scraped by sandpaper. "Romeo, are you doing this to get back at me?" Her red-rimmed eyes tried to hold a smile. "You can punish me however you want. Just please don't marry someone else." I looked at her calmly. "No, this isn't to get back at you. I'm marrying Anna simply because I want to marry her." Tears slipped down her cheeks, and she tightened her grip on my sleeve. But you don't love her, do you?" I gently pushed her hand away, a faint smile on my lips. "If I didn't love her, why would I marry her? Julia, after all these years, you should know me at least that well." Without another glance, I got into the car. As the procession pulled away, I saw her small, lonely figure in the rear-view mirror, wrapped in white lace, standing there like the final act of some tragic farce. Chapter 34. Married life wasn't much different from before. To take care of Uncle Sue, we moved back into the little villa. Anna slept on the bed. I slept on a mattress on the floor. Until I could be certain of her feelings, I wanted to give her the respect she deserved. Joel still checked in sometimes, chatting about random things. He never brought up Julia again. I learned about Julia's father being ousted from the board through the news. Oliver had gone too far, ruthless but careless. He copied several of Julia's project documents and sold them to Lynn's competitors. Business is a battlefield, and the Lynn Corporation suffered heavy losses. With no other choice, Julia's father had to sell his shares to cover the financial gap. Although he had Oliver imprisoned, he was no longer the company's largest shareholder. And because Julia had been responsible for part of the chaos, the other shareholders, long harboring bitterness, took the chance to unite and force him off the board. After reading all that, I just sighed. I didn't ask further. In a way, it felt like a daughter paying for her father's sins. Chapter 35. Uncle Sue didn't make it through the winter. Anna arranged the funeral with an eerie calmness, so calm it hurt to watch. Being raised by her father alone, they had a deep bond. Maybe because she never had a mother, she had always taken such good care of me, the kid who was often bullied for having none. More than 6 months into our marriage, I held her in my arms for the first time. She curled up, sobbing uncontrollably. "Romeo, I don't have a father anymore." I gently patted her back, swallowing my own tears. "You still have me," I whispered. "From now on, I'll be here with you. Anna, for the rest of our lives, let's walk this path together, taking care of each other, keeping each other warm." Chapter 36. Because of Uncle Sue, we had stayed in this southern town for a while, but now it was time to return to the capital. While packing, Pudding trotted over and dropped a dusty diary at my feet like a treasure he had unearthed. Covered in cobwebs, it definitely came from some forgotten corner. Curious, I opened it. Inside were years of notes, filled with a girl's quiet, enduring love. Only then did I realize that all those years, a gentle, reserved girl had been silently in love with me. Anna finished packing and walked over. "Did you see it?" she asked, her voice shy and a little anxious when she noticed me holding the diary. I looked up, blinking away the moisture in my eyes. "What a coincidence," I said softly. "I like you too." Our relationship might not be fiery or dramatic, but marriage is made of small, everyday moments. Who says a quiet, steady love isn't love? Sometimes it's the truest kind.